On December 8, 2004, the heavy metal group Damageplan performed at the Alrosa Villa nightclub. Over 200 eager fans filled the concert hall during their initial set, excited to see the band and one of the nation's most renowned guitarists, Dimebag Darrell Abbott, perform. However, only a few minutes into their opening song, chaos ensued.
You can see shooter Nathan Gale in a black jacket and baseball cap charging on a stage and pulling out a gun. He was headed straight for Dimebag Darrell, the band's lead guitarist. The crowd, shocked, unbelievably didn't move. Someone on stage cried for help.
Call 911, somebody!
While Dimebag Darrell lays on stage with band members, even fans trying to resuscitate him, there's chaos. Police say minutes after Gale shot Dimebag, he takes a hostage and reloads his gun behind a speaker. In a matter of 5 minutes, Gale fired 15 shots before Officer James Niggemeyer took him down with one single shot. A single shot that saved lives. Moments later, Officer Niggemeyer steps in front of the camera, shotgun in hand, a blank look on his face.
Nathan Miles Gale was born on September 11, 1979, in Chicago, Illinois, becoming the third son to parents Gerald and Mary Gale. His early childhood was spent in the Chicago suburb of Lansing, until his parents' marriage ended in divorce. Nathan moved to Marysville, Ohio, with his mother post-divorce, while his siblings stayed with their father. Initially attending Benjamin Logan High School, Nathan moved to Marysville High in the midst of his junior year. Pursuing further education, he studied construction and electrical work at the Ohio High Point Career Center, graduating in 1998. After graduating, Gale lived with his mother, working in numerous low-paying jobs and struggling with substance abuse issues. He constantly expressed feelings of being watched, a concern his mother linked to his drug consumption. A severe altercation with his mother that required police involvement resulted in Gale being kicked from her home and subsequently experiencing homelessness. Sustaining himself through panhandling and stealing, he eventually decided to join a drug rehab program, upon which his mother permitted his return home. During this period, Gale had a few minor brushes with the law, including trespassing due to skateboarding and an accusation of workplace theft. Motivated by the September 11th attacks, Gale joined the United States Marine Corps in February 2002. In recognition of his military commitment, his mother bought him a .92 FS 9mm semi-automatic Beretta pistol as a Christmas gift following his completion of basic training. Gale served at Camp Lejeune in North Carolina with the 2nd Marine Division until November 2003, not completing the standard 4-year enlistment period. The specifics behind Gale's discharge from the military were not disclosed, but Gale told his mother that he'd been discharged due to a diagnosis of paranoid schizophrenia. Even though he came back with medication, he opted not to pursue further treatment upon returning home. Upon his military discharge, Gale pursued interests in boxing and football. He secured a position as an offensive lineman with the Lima Thunder, a Northwest Ohio semi-professional football team, and made a habit of listening to Pantera to hype himself up before games. Gale, who had always been a heavy metal enthusiast, developed an obsession with Pantera during his high school years, an obsession that persisted even after the band's 2003 breakup. Dave Johnson, a former friend of Gale's, relayed to reporters that Gale had once arrived at a mutual friend's residence bearing Pantera lyrics, which he claimed were his original work, accusing Pantera of plagiarism and an attempt to steal his identity. Numerous friends of Gale started to withdraw from him as his actions turned progressively erratic. He once confided in his ex-friend Mark Brake that God was instructing him to assassinate Marilyn Manson. Some observed that he would engage in solo conversations and laughter, pretend to hold an imaginary dog, and disturb patrons at the tattoo shop opposite his apartment by gazing at clients and initiating discussions about heavy metal music with them. Nathan Gale caused a disturbance at a Damageplan show at Bogart's Nightclub in Cincinnati, Ohio, on April 8, 2004, by jumping on stage and attempting to assault Dimebag Darrell. Gale was stopped by security before he could reach Darrell, and police were called, resulting in a scuffle that caused $1,800 in damage to lighting and stage equipment upon their arrival. While police officers identified Gale's behavior as criminal endangerment and vandalism, Damageplan opted against pressing charges due to an unwillingness to come back to Cincinnati for court dates. On December 8, 2004, Gale would again target Dimebag Darrell as Damageplan took the main stage for a concert at the Alrosa Villa nightclub in Columbus, Ohio. Gale was spotted in the parking lot by the club manager Rick Cautella and a few concert-goers. When asked about his reason for being outside, he stated, quote, "I don't want to see no shitty local bands, I'm going to wait for Damageplan." Damageplan began their performance at approximately 10:15 p.m. Gale then gained access to the venue by climbing a fence on the north side of the venue and proceeding through a patio door. Just minutes into the band's set, Gale ran on stage and pulled out the Beretta 9mm pistol gifted to him by his mother. He proceeded straight toward Dimebag, shouting something that couldn't be heard clearly, then shooting him 4 times at extremely close range, in the right cheek, left ear, back of the head, and right hand. Initially, a few concert attendees were unaware that a shooting had occurred, and continued pumping their fists, thinking it was an act. After shooting Dimebag, Gale started to shoot at additional attendees, initially targeting tour manager Chris Paluska, who was shot once in the chest, before Damageplan security head Jeffrey Mayhem Thompson intervened by tackling Gale from behind. Thompson was then shot in the chest, back, and upper thigh during the altercation. Nathan Bray, a fan of Damageplan, jumped onto the stage and was fatally shot in the chest while trying to perform CPR on Abbott and Thompson. Erin Stoney Halk, an employee at Alrosa Villa and ex-Marine, who had either helped Thompson or had rushed at Gale during a reload, was fatally injured by 6 shots, 4 to the chest, 1 to the hand, and 1 to the leg. Travis Burnett, a member of the road crew for Volume Dealer, one of the opening acts that evening, tried to disarm Gale and was slightly injured by a bullet on his left forearm. He ran from the location when further gunfire was aimed at his head. John Cat Brooks, a drum technician, tried to control Gale but was shot twice in the leg and held as a hostage. Police officer James Niggemeyer responded to the shooting within 3 minutes of the first 911 calls from the club, arriving on scene and immediately entering without waiting for backup. Niggemeyer entered through a backstage door, approaching Gale slowly from behind in hopes that he wouldn't notice his approach. As he was about 20 feet away from Gale, Gale began to fire randomly into the crowd. Officer Niggemeyer then fired his 12-gauge Remington Model 870 shotgun once, hitting Gale in the head, killing him instantly, and saving countless innocent lives. When Gale died, his Beretta contained a half-filled magazine, and he carried an extra 30 rounds of ammunition with him. 38-year-old Dimebag Darrell Abbott was pronounced dead on the scene. He is remembered by his work with the heavy metal bands Pantera and Damageplan, as his innovative guitar work profoundly influenced the heavy metal genre. Abbott co-founded Pantera with his brother Vincent, and became a pivotal figure in the 1990s metal scene, notably for contributing to the groove metal subgenre. Known for his onstage energy and remarkable technical proficiency, Dimebag Darrell remains an icon in the metal community, celebrated for his legacy in reshaping and energizing the genre. 40-year-old Jeff Mayhem Thompson was Damageplan's head of security. Described by friends as a gentle giant, standing around 6 feet 8 inches tall and weighing 300+ pounds, Thompson took 2 bullets while struggling with Gale. Eerily, Thompson had always expressed affection for band members and other friends by saying, quote, "I'd take a bullet for you." 23-year-old Nathan Anthony Bray had many interests from a young age. He was an avid sports player and fan, with a love for playing basketball. Nate attended Ohio University, with the goal of becoming a high school or college history teacher. It was there he met and fell in love with his wife Carrie, with whom he had a son with. Nate was one of several fans who tried to assist Dimebag on stage after he was shot. He attempted CPR, but soon realized Dimebag was fatally injured. Looking around, he spotted Jeffrey Thompson, who was also lying injured on stage. As he and others attempted to aid Thompson, the gunman reappeared, fatally shooting Nate. 29-year-old Erin Alexander Halk was a graduate of Upper Arlington High School and had served in the Marine Corps. Halk was an employee of the club and displayed true heroism that night as he charged at Gale, putting himself in direct danger in an attempt to protect others in the venue. Officer James Niggemeyer's decisive actions undoubtedly saved numerous lives as he prevented further casualties by neutralizing the threat posed by Gale. In the aftermath, Officer Niggemeyer was recognized as a hero. For his heroic actions during the shooting, he was recognized with various awards. He became a finalist for a bravery accolade from America's Most Wanted, earned the Distinguished Law Enforcement Valor Award, presented by Ohio Attorney General Jim Petro, and was dubbed the Law Enforcement Officer of the Year in 2005 by the National Rifle Association. However, the events of that night significantly impacted his life and mental health. The trauma and stress ensuing from being directly involved in such a harrowing incident, where he was forced to take a life to save others, weighed heavily on him. Niggemeyer has spoken publicly about struggling with post-traumatic stress disorder following the incident, navigating through emotional and psychological challenges while being admired for his heroism. He continued as a first responder for 3 years, then transitioned to a robbery detective role following his doctor's advice, having been diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder and a severe anxiety disorder. He departed from the CPD in 2011 for a different city position, and maintained friendships with both Rick Cotella and Erin Halk's brother Andy, as of 2014. Nathan Gale's motive in the fatal shooting of Dimebag Darrell Abbott and others has been subject to much speculation and analysis. However, a clear motive has never been conclusively established. Some theories suggest that Gale, who was described by those who knew him as being significantly mentally disturbed, believed that the band Pantera had stolen song lyrics from him. According to acquaintances and witnesses, he had previously claimed that the band was trying to steal his identity and had a history of erratic and delusional thinking. There were also reports that Gale was disgruntled over Pantera's breakup and might have blamed Abbott for it, possibly perceiving the guitarist's new band, Damageplan, as a betrayal or an affront to Pantera's legacy. However, without a precise explanation or a coherent manifesto from Gale, the true motive behind his deadly actions at the Alrosa Villa nightclub remains in uncertainty and speculation.
We're here with James, who was the first officer that was on the scene during the shooting. James, I don't know if you can fill us in a little bit about what went down that night.
Paranoid schizophrenic jumped on the stage and shot Dime, ended up killing Mayhem, the bodyguard, Erin Halk, who was a vendor and or a security for the venue, and a fan. 4 people were killed. He was holding Cat Brooks, who was Vinny's drum tech, in a headlock, holding him hostage when I had come in, and I ended up stopping the situation before Cat was shot.
Yeah, I mean, I actually saw some of the footage. There was a camera on stage. I mean, it was kind of blurry, but I mean, the terror of that I mean, what was going through your head? I mean, you realistically, you saved a lot of lives by getting there so quick. I remember seeing you on stage. You were right on target. Boom. I mean, it was just a matter of seconds, right?
Right. Yeah, it happened. Everything happened fast. Unfortunately, when I got there, those 4 individuals were already killed. I mean, there's nothing we could do about that. I arrived and I'm being told anywhere around 3 minutes or less, so it's just really fast.
Okay.
By the time I got there, everything was over in less than a minute. So I stopped it as fast as I could, but unfortunately, some pretty good people lost their lives that night.
Well, James.